Hello, I'm David DeCosmo. Welcome to ECTV Live. I'm here with my co-host, Rusty Fender. Welcome, Rusty.
Good to see you, David.
Another holiday season show for us today.
You wouldn't know what the temperature is this week.
No, but
maybe they continue too.
I guess we have to be ready. Everybody else is set for the holidays, and in one sense, my favorite shows that we do on ECTV Live come at this time of year, and this is one of those favorites. Joe Spinelli is a gentleman who has taken Christmas decorating at home to a whole new level. And he's done that because he's been able to secure some of the old-fashioned window displays that used to be commonplace in the big department stores and all the holidays. I was just looking at some history of that, Joe, and we talked about it before we went on the air. Back in the 1800s, Macy's was featuring Christmas displays in windows. And of course, they're still very big in New York City, in the Macy's and the Lord and Taylor kind of.
Because there's windows. With the big box stores now,
yes,
you don't have any more windows to decorate.
You don't. Now, we're in a building that is in the one end of what was Oppenheim's.
Yes, there was Scranton Dry Goods.
Always a display in there with Lionel trains running and things like that. Across the street, the Globe store, and we're told that they're going to try to redo some of the old Christmas-style decorations there this year. But Joe's in Newfoundland, and it isn't that he's in a department store. He's in his home, and he has a yard set up. And Joe, the history of this is interesting from when you got started, but also how it's developed. And I guess I'm very proud of feeling that our program has had a part of that. So
big part.
Let's go back to the beginning about how you got the items that you have on display, which I believe you start on Thanksgiving?
The day after
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Black Friday always.
All right. Joe Spinelli, the history of the Joe Spinelli Christmas extravaganza.
Well, when I was a little boy, my father used to take me to see the display, most of the items that are in the display in the Visconti Brooklyn Terminal Market, in their store, and some other locations in Brooklyn. But anyway, Visconti's stopped setting them up a while ago. Probably, I think we own them about 8 years now. And my wife noticed that, and she asked why, and Mr. Visconti said that he was just didn't have it in him anymore. He was on in years, and he was tired of setting it up. And she made a deal with him, and we own it. And we used to set it up on our porch in Brooklyn. People will walk up to your house and look at your Christmas displays on your porch. Here in the Poconos, not too many people do that. I guess they're scared of going on other people's property. So anyway, but it was still a pretty big hit. But it got a little tiring setting it up on my porch every year. It was a lot of work. Took a couple of months to set it up and a couple of months to take it down. And so I came up with the idea of putting them all in display cases on house trailers on a separate piece of our property. And we made it into a drive-through. And so now as you pull up to each display, a sensor triggers it and it comes to life with movement, sound, and there's about, I think there's 6 or 7 of them now. And we also just got a huge donation from a building in Manhattan. And it's a little bit too late to put them up this year, but next year we're probably going to double in size.
Well, let's see if I can find that, because you have a photo of that as well. The donations, I believe. Yes, yeah. And by the way, have you not even paved the driving area since you?
No, that was one of the first things we did when we became a nonprofit. We actually became a nonprofit so we could raise money to pave it, because the first year we got some 70-degree weather and people were getting stuck in there. The ground softened up and they were getting stuck. Yeah. So that was one of the first things we were able to do, and so now it's paved and plowed and
You can never
de-iced
tell
and-
you're from Brooklyn, Joe. You can
Oh, no?
never tell you're from Brooklyn. I'm glad you pointed that out to us.
Yeah, he used to live 2 doors down from Archie Bunker.
Yeah, exactly. And Ralph Cramden.
on 3rd and 33rd.
Right. Ralph Cramden over in Bensonhurst. That's right.
Well, it's just amazing how this display has grown. And I think we had you on this program. There'd been a small newspaper article or something online that attracted
Right.
my attention to it.
Yeah.
And we had you on the program, and we're recruiting people from the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre area to head on out to Newfoundland and make this part of your family Christmas tradition. And then I think I had suggested to you at one point you go nonprofit, and you did.
Yes. Yes, you put the idea in my head that we're bringing cars into the area, bringing business into the area, and so my goal is to keep it free to the public.
Right.
I don't want to. If anybody would like to come there and drive in a circle all night long, you're welcome to do it. So we get local businesses to sponsor us and keep it free to the public.
And that, I'm sure, helps out, because one of the things we've talked about in the past, and we got a series of photos, we'll try to run through them fairly quickly here. This isn't just a matter of, unveiling these things every year. Rusty, because he's had them this long, and of course they predated his acquisition of them
Absolutely.
quite a bit. And so what you wind up having is you have a series of, mishaps that happen. This is one of the characters. And Joe, tell me what we're seeing here, how you found this and everything.
Her arm was completely broken off, and that happens every year. I'm fixing them constantly, all year round.
It's very tough to repair something of this age because the materials these were made of
Right.
are right now not readily available. So now,
I
fortunately,
still don't even know what they're made of, but I figured out how to repair
well,
them,
now
and
you
it's
have
working.
acrylics and compounds which you can kind of replace, but the original materials, that 100 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord knows they used simpler things back then, less chemical additives
Right.
than they have now.
Here's even Santa has had his share of accidents.
That's
probably
one of the elves.
one of the elves?
Yeah.
Okay, well, he comes down those chimneys too, so he probably gets injured coming down those chimneys.
Good cover, David.
But
Well, he looks a little like Santa.
so do you actually work on this year round
Yeah.
because of the repair
Yeah.
situation?
Mostly with repairs.
Is that where you first lived when you left Brooklyn? You moved to Newfoundland?
Yes.
And what brought you to Pennsylvania?
Oh, my wife's family
I see.
is here.
I see.
Yeah.
And for those who are watching, I know we go through this every year, but it's important because it isn't as though, when they do come to see the Christmas lights at Naog Park, they know where Naog Park is, and it's pretty easy. How do we find your display?
Yes.
How do we get to it from, say, Scranton-Wilkes-Barre?
Well, with GPS, the address is 391 Crestmont Drive, Newfoundland, Pennsylvania, 18445. If you don't have a GPS, you can take Route 84 towards Milford, get off the Newfoundland exit, which is exit number 17, make a right, follow that into town. When you come to the intersection of 191, 507, you're going to make another right and come to the blinking light and make another right. So it's all rights, straight and 3 rights.
And I'm a little familiar with the blinking light. Is that by the school?
That's right past Wallenpaugh Pack South Elementary, yes.
Okay.
So right
So
at
that'd be
the
a good
blinking
landmark.
right at the blinking light, and that'll be Crestmont Drive, and we're up the hill an eighth of a mile on the right-hand side.
All right, starts the day after Thanksgiving, and then it runs through when?
Little Christmas, which
Or
is January 6th.
Russian Christmas,
Yes,
January
Russian
7th.
Christmas, January 6th.
6th, all right.
Yes. Yeah, from 5 p.m. till 9 p.m. every night.
Now, you've been doing it about 7 years, and
Right.
the setup with in containers, the trailers that you have set
For the
up
last 3 years.
for the last 3. How have you had? How's the reaction been to this?
Oh, there's last year we had a little over 3,000 cars come through, and
That's incredible.
yes, and the first year that we did it, it was that we made this display in the containers. It was actually a walk-through. It wasn't a drive-through then, and you'd get a car an hour, maybe.
Sure.
if
I
you were
realize
lucky.
this is your home, but could you imagine the populace in an urban setting that this would draw?
Yeah.
This is exponential.
And especially for those of us who remember
Window displays.
Those window displays.
Yes,
Now, I grew up in
absolutely.
Hazelden. We had the Leader store there,
Leader,
and
yeah.
Dice Roast department store.
Oh, I remember the ads for that.
And there was also a smaller hardware store, basically, but nonetheless always had a Christmas. Jerry Woodrings had a big Christmas display. A lot of them featured, as I say, trains. I was always into the electric trains.
Me too.
And they always had the electric trains here at the Oppenheim building
Yeah,
when
going
that was
around through the tunnels and up in different levels of
yeah,
platforms. Yeah.
And some of these things for some of the department stores were actually designed in New York City. And they would bring in a designer to the department store here and set them up. So it was not something that was done lightly or just, here's your window display person, give me a display.
A lot of work goes into
And
it.
yeah, and when you see all the mechanics involved in this, I guess this would be an example. Now, most of these, not necessarily this one, but most of these items have movement to them, do they not?
Yes, all of them do.
Oh,
Yeah.
they all do.
Yeah.
And you also have music, you said?
Some of them have music, some of them tell a little story. Yeah.
I can imagine what it takes to keep them going all the time. And is that where some of the sponsorship comes in to help you just with the finances to keep them going?
Well, through the sponsors, we pay the expense of running it, maintaining it, making it better. And then we also donate to some local charities. Well, I won't be specific, but we've donated to 3 different charities this year. Also, my wife, every year my wife has a truckload of clothing sent over, and we distribute clothing throughout the local area to needy families. This year I'm going to probably be standing out there and giving out hats and gloves to whoever needs them.
Wow.
So,
It's interesting. It's whimsical and nostalgic, to say the least, because this is one of those vanishing items, like the yellow pages and pay telephones and window displays.
Yeah.
And you think back even as far as the early 1970s, #1 show in the early 70s before All in the Family was the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And of course, Mary Tyler Moore, Mary Richards' best friend, Rhoda, who lived upstairs, was a window designer.
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah.
until the 70s, this was very much in vogue. This was not a lost art. So it's just over the past 30 years or so, which I guess is a long time. But that was a very fashionable, very hip, very creative thing to do, to be a window designer, especially at a large name department store.
I say everybody, that's such a generalization, but it seemed like so many people enjoyed them. And yet, as you said, with the demise of the traditional department store, the Christmas theme of should it be Christmas, should it be holidays, has turned some away from doing that kind of display. And yet, wherever they still exist, and as the example, that Newfoundland is not right around the corner necessarily,
That's right.
but you bring 3,000 people through there.
That's incredible.
that is pretty darn impressive. But when I see all the work that goes into it, and now you've got you've got your hands on some more equipment, and you try to change this a little bit every year, don't you?
yes, yeah. We try to add another display or rearrange the displays. We're always working on them and try and keep it interesting and new, fresh.
Do you do it from memory, or do you have a template where everything lays?
Well, usually, no, it's just, you know.
You just create
we
it
just
every
look
year
at
for
it
the year.
and
Yeah,
say
sure.
that looks good.
I see.
You know,
Yeah.
but try to create
So it
a
doesn't
new
have
scene.
its different nuances every year, which is
Yeah.
good. It's that change in itself there is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Well, and with some more equipment that's been be forthcoming, I can see where this. I don't know how much room you have to grow. Maybe it's just going to have to be changing one display to another year to year.
Yeah, we're able to add on probably we're able to double in size next year.
Wow.
And you know, getting these new items from that departments from the office building in Manhattan. We're going to be building new displays and probably doubling in size next year. But after that, you're right. I'm not sure how much more we can grow without relocating.
In a sense, I don't know if it's you or your wife, but it's almost like Stanley looking for Livingston, because now when we talked about how many places had these.
Exactly.
Where'd they go? What happened?
Well,
to
you know,
them?
back in those days, David, nothing was a collector's item. Now you go to Burger King and McDonald's, even a cup you buy is a limited edition. But back then, they probably just threw things out. No, they kept things until they were in disrepair, and then they discarded them back then. And that's why things on eBay and the other search engines are just, they're so valuable now because
Well,
you saw them every day.
You have a trophy from the old Rocky Glen Park.
Yes, I do. The grandma, which is one of 3 working in the world.
Like it's a fortune-telling
Exactly,
machine,
just like in the
right?
movie Big, and it's
yeah.
and it's featured in the DVD of Rocky Glen as well. And you know how many people? And I got that on August 24th, 1987 was the auction. How many people, first of all, could afford $10,000 to buy that
Yeah.
30 years ago? And where do you store these things? And that was in use. That was not in somebody's house like it is now, in like easy retirement, as they call it. That was in everyday use where, you know, people were putting their cigarette butts when they smoked on it and getting burn marks and trying to jimmy the coin slot to get the pennies out. I mean, these things go through a lot of work when they're displayed. That's the whole deal.
Yeah.
So to find something like this in really good condition is a rarity in itself.
And take what you have. How many parks were there at one time, and how many of them had similar, not necessarily the same kind of
A
machine?
lot, including Angela in your area on 309.
So-
Angela had one.
Again, you got to wonder what happened to all these things.
Exactly.
They're very, very hard to find. You know, I've found a few people here and there, but you don't come across them very often. And that's one of the reasons I put them connected sensors up to them also, because when these displays were running years ago, they were constantly running.
Exactly.
Oh, they ran constantly.
Oh,
Constantly,
yeah.
yeah.
Night
And
and
it's
day.
a lot of wear and tear. So now they're on sensors, and they only run when a car comes through. But because of the show, they're almost constantly running
Sure.
again. But,
And again,
but they get a little bit of a
and
break. here
technically,
and there.
that's an arguable point. Something left running is less likely to break down than something that has to start up and stop 100 times a day. So that's an arguable technical point.
Ah,
So that's just the deal.
Okay.
Leave a light bulb on, you leave a light bulb burning, it'll burn for a year. Keep shutting it off and on 10 times a day, you'll get about 5 months out of it. So again, that's an arguable point. Something like this is very tough to gauge because this is a very rare item. This is not a
Sure.
common manufactured
Mechanical.
item. This is a specialty item.
motor.
Well, my next question and/or suggestion: as you get into Newfoundland, do you have any signs pointing toward the display?
Not yet.
Okay, well that's my next suggestion. Then there are a couple.
Talk to the township for me.
Oh, did they?
What's that?
Oh, they did. I guess they didn't want the influx of. That's surprising.
Well, as you say, the traffic is actually healthy for the community.
Yep.
People do stop. They
And
eat.
the surrounding
And
areas,
surrounding
sure.
areas as well. Sure.
Yes.
Sure. All the setup, all the work, and as you said, a year-round effort to maintain them mechanically. You know, we've just been talking about the physical part of an arm of a character breaks off, but inside that character there's a mechanism too, and I doubt that the mechanisms are that dependable that you can just turn them on every year and they work.
They need to be greased. The motors need to be changed all the time, and finding the motors was a little difficult. Now I found somebody, and you know, I just have to hope that he stays in business.
So you have to replace some of the
Oh, I'm always
mechanized.
replacing motors.
And
yeah.
they're rare items because there's a lot of really fine moving parts in these. That's the thing. It's
Yeah.
not like buying a motor for a Maytag dishwasher.
No.
This is a very specialized item.
Unique, and it has to be the exact motor, or it won't fit properly
Exactly.
and run right. Yeah.
The families that come through, you ever get any feedback from them as to,
Oh, they love it. They thank us. They send us thank you cards in the mail, and and it's not just families with kids. There's plenty of senior citizens that come through. Husbands and wives, people on dates. Older couples on dates, and it just brings a smile to everyone's face.
This, again, like most hobbies, is a throwback to your childhood days as well. It's nice to remember the old days. I mean, nostalgia is
yeah.
captivating. It really is.
is that why you do it, Joe?
Yeah, it did something to me when I was little, and I felt like I was in the North Pole, actually in the North Pole. So it's special, and I want to pass it along, and have other kids feel that also.
The good thing is, if you had this now in Brooklyn, you'd probably come out the next morning, just have where they used to be. They'd be the stands bolted to the porch and nothing on them. Whether you're in Bensonhurst or Flatbush, or whether you're in Canarsie or whatever. But
There's a few people that still do it in
I'm
Brooklyn.
sure there are.
But they can't be out in the weather. They have to be
No.
encased.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure. So I mean, the trailers serve as a great way to display them, but it's also protection
Yeah.
for the displays.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I think we ought to review again as to the hours, how you get to see the display. So again, you're starting the day after Thanksgiving,
Right.
the evening after Thanksgiving.
Right. It will be Black Friday, running from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. every day until Little Christmas, which is January 6th. And the address is 391 Crestmont Drive, Newfoundland, Pennsylvania, 18445. If you don't have a GPS, then take Route 84 and get off at exit 17, the Newfoundland exit, and you're going to follow 191 straight to the blinking light. You're going to make a right when you get off onto 191. Follow it to the blinking light, make another right, which that'll be Crestmont Drive, and we're up the hill on the right-hand side, about a quarter of a mile.
Well, global positioning is just, we complain about technology, how it's so impersonal, but it's like the old days. Remember where the gas station used to be? No, I don't. It used to be. It's so easy now to find those hidden, out-of-the-way places.
You don't have to turn right to something that's not there anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
Sure. I should mention that Joe is on Facebook. So it's Joe Spinelli, and you can get information on Facebook. You want to learn.
There's also the North Pole Christmas display, a Facebook page for. Just type in the North Pole Christmas display.
That's what you call the whole entire collection en
Yes.
masse, is the North
the
Pole
North
Christmas
Pole
display.
Christmas display. Yep.
Is it likely that you're going to try to get some of that equipment you've just acquired and expand by next year, or is that?
Oh,
just
next
hopeful?
year it'll be for sure, but this year there's just not enough time.
Yeah.
So we will use some of it in the existing displays. We're going to add to them and change it a little bit before Christmas. We have a few more weeks we can do that. But to build a whole new display, it's not going to happen.
Do you actually search actively for new items and new ideas?
Well, I would say my wife stumbled on that one again, because it's a building that she goes into. She's been
By
going
accident.
into that. She's been doing business in there for the last 20 years.
I
and
see.
then noticed that they weren't being set up for the past 3 years.
That was good. That was being in the right place at the right time. That's for sure.
Yeah, and we were trying to get in touch with the building owner and try to buy them from them. And then, because of David, we became a nonprofit. And this past year,
David's made a lot of businesses nonprofit.
Yeah.
Couldn't resist that one, David.
It's one of those times it occurs to me that a closed mouth gathers no feet.
So This year
I'm
we
here.
we were lucky enough to contact the owner this year, and they were generous enough to donate them all to us. So
A worthy
pays-
cause, for
pays
sure.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
A lot of people get to see them, but we know of a few other places that have them. Whether they're going to want to donate them is another story, you know. But we may buy some more. You know, right now we're concentrating on what we have going on, and you know, there's plenty of work to do within the next
Well, it's
year.
well worth seeing, and our area is lucky. We're having some nice Christmas displays, and there are some nice household displays set up right here in the city of Scranton that I know that I check out each year. There is the Naog Park lighting. I don't know the status of the Berwick Christmas Boulevard this year. Last year it was saved. It was going near folding, but they did get it going again.
That's along 11.
Right,
Yeah, US 11.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right in the borough of Berwick itself. And what I like about these things are they can become nice family Christmas traditions. It's a nice way to go out with the family, with the kids, with the grandkids,
Right.
enjoy some of these lights. But in this case, you're seeing something that is not only Christmas, it's historic, and it does bring back memories for those of us who are older and remember the department stores, but I think it creates new memories for the young people that get to see them.
Good point.
My hat is off to you for getting this together and for keeping it not only displayed every year, but keeping it operational, which, as we just had a taste with a few of these photos, is a major undertaking. And do you have any help at all?
My wife and my son, but I love doing it. I mean, I'm like a kid again. I look forward to waking up every day and going into the garage and working on
It's
these
nice.
things.
You do a lot of
really
work for the
do love
enjoyment
it.
of others, and that's very commendable.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have to. We both wish you a Merry Christmas.
Absolutely.
We hope that everybody
Same to
will
you.
take some time to go to Newfoundland and see the Joe Spinelli Christmas Spectacular. And again, you have the two Facebook pages: Joe Spinelli's Facebook page, and the other's called.
The North Pole Christmas display.
Okay, so you can check them out there. Look forward to having you back next year with twice the photos to cover
We're going to have twice the displays.
twice the displays. Rusty, thanks so much for
See you next week,
co-hosting the ship today.
is enjoyable.
Mark McGlory, thank you so much for keeping
Thanks,
us in
Mark.
the Christmas spirit on camera. I'm Dave DeCosmo for ECTV Live. Until we see you again next week, here's hoping all your news is good.